Well, the problem was when COVID hit, you had businesses that had been in the PPE business for a long time. And then you had a bunch of people that were immediately out of business who were then trying to convert their curtain factory into a mask factory just to stay alive. And then you had an army of legitimate or some cases illegitimate brokers that just wanted to get in on the buying frenzy. And they were all over the country. Some of them were firms, and there was a lot of, at the time, because of the frenzy, people were desperate to get them. And there was a period of time when these guys required prepayment, and governments, companies would actually prepay, tens of thousands of dollars, when to find out later that company never had inventory. They were waiting to get it. They were waiting to get inventory, but they were selling, parking spaces. Get in line. Don't miss your turn. Get in the queue. What's it going to cost me? $150,000. I mean, they were just raping the marketplace, right? So there was a competitive. There was fear, major fear at the time. There was competitive, environment for limited product source, and then you had all this fallacy, right? You had people pretending to be what they were not, having inventory when they didn't, and then the last thing was the quality. Literally, I heard one story of a state bought $2 million worth, filled a warehouse full of product they couldn't use because what was delivered to them was not what they purchased. They purchased a high grade, they got a low grade, and they went back to the company had folded. So they had, thousands of boxes of masks they couldn't use. So it was really tenuous. So the driving factor was the market was just out of control. There was no quality control. And like with every free market, you've got bad actors that got into it really quickly. And you had good actors, and you had what I call the conversion actors, people trying to keep their company alive. So they tried, many of them were manufacturing other things. They wanted to convert over to start manufacturing PPE. They got loans from their state to do it. And they just wanted to keep the doors open. So, of course, PPE wasn't just masks. There was a lot of other types of PPE, but that was the environment with which drove us to say, okay, we got to come up with a better solution to approach the problem than what was typically going on now, which was, a buyer calls 5 suppliers, gets a price. By the time they get the 5th price, the first guy's inventory is gone. Mm-hmm. So it was really crazy. So we needed a better, faster, more effective, safer model. We didn't, but the market, our states, our companies were demanding something. And we saw that as an opportunity to get some smart people together and, hey, what if? What would be better, faster, cheaper? And, somebody came up with the idea for, Uber has reinvented taxi cab business. Why don't we look at an Uber model? All Uber does is bring together buyers and sellers, right? The buyers are the people on a ride, and the sellers are the people driving the car. Well, the first thing we did, which was the easiest, was we bought a list. We bought a list of people who claimed to be sellers of PPE or medical equipment. Then decided, the best way to get it together in mass is to have a webinar or 2. Then we found out who was really interested and who wasn't. The call to action at the webinar was register with the program. They got an invite, they come to a webinar, they hear the content of the webinar, and they sign up with their email to basically register with the service. And that proved very effective because you had motivated sellers, right? You had the market was ready, and the sellers didn't know how to go after the people or find the people that were qualified buyers. Because remember, on the buyer side, you had fraud as well. You had people pretending to be a buyer or be a hospital, whatever. They were not. They were vendors. They were posing because they wanted to get inventory and then double the price and make money and sell it. So if you were a supplier, you wanted to talk with actual vetted suppliers, not dealing with snake oil salesmen that were posing as a client, but they weren't, because you didn't have the money to place the order, but you wanted to get the order, but you had to. It was this cash flow issue. That's what caused the pricing to go out of whack, because you had all this limited inventory and too many sellers, and then buyers who were really sellers.